Now, the officials are ready. The fighters are in the ring, and they are ready. So, for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome to the DJ Scottos What Why Now podcast, where I'll be inviting special guests onto my show to ask them questions about their life and success stories. For this episode, I've invited another special guest. We'll be finding out what it was like growing up in Essex, how he became a DJ, what it's like being involved with the start of Ibiza, finding out how Clockwork Orange has continued for 30 years, how he's evolved and continued to stay at the top, find out more about his book, Gould Blimey, how being voted the third maddest caner in Ibiza, to being nearly 20 years sober, plans for the future, plus much more. I'm really excited to introduce my very special guest today. Let's make some virtual noise for Danny Gould. Firstly, thank you so much for joining podcast episode 12. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good. I'm happy after the weekend. I made a conscious decision to actually enjoy it rather than walking around working all the time. And I'll tell you how I did it. I just sit there before the event and I go in my mind and shut my eyes and I go, I'm going to enjoy this. It's going to be amazing.
Just out of interest, before we ask them, what is your normal day?
Well, for the last 10 years, apart from just about a year or so after lockdown, my day used to start at about 4:30 in the morning. I used to get to work for 6:30 in London. I was a project manager in construction. I used to have about 100 staff, 5 managers, and God knows what. Used to run big projects for like 600 units, 33 floors. And this ain't nothing like no ego attached. I used to win awards for that because I used to work really hard and I knew what to do. Let's say hard. And I used to do that. Then I used to have a maintenance contract and do some other stuff for Barrett's in London. Then I used to DJ. Then I had Clockwork, Clockstock, and I was writing the book plus a family. So only up until about 2 years ago, I really, now looking back, because I gave up the construction about 2 years ago this summer, I don't know how I did it. So I gave that up, and now my life is I wake up roughly when I want to wake up now, except for days when I'm here.
Yeah.
Converting to Winnebago. And then I just get up and I do my Clockwork stuff, and Clockwork's basically all day, every day. Even on Saturdays and Sundays up till 9 or 10 at night, my phone's never off.
Well, I guess especially after seeing what you achieved on Saturday, we have got some questions, by the way, on that. But before we go into that, by the way, like I always say, please can everyone subscribe, like, share, comment, everything you've said so far during these last 11 podcasts. I've taken all your feedback, and so far it will be good. So my plan is to keep doing this and get to put the likes of Danny Gould onto my show. So so one of the things I did ask Danny, you might have seen on Facebook or on Instagram, I sent out some a message to all all of your Danny Gould lovers or listeners or followers, etc., to ask any questions that they would like to ask you. If they had a chance, what would they ask you? So they asked some random ones on this. So just go with me on this before we really get into your life story. So first one is, if a movie was made of your life, what would it be and who would play you?
That's quite good, actually, because I've got a friend who's worked in the film industry for years, and he tried to put my book forward to a company he was working for. I don't know, really. I don't know. But I do know it'd have to have animation in it.
Yeah.
With a sheer sense, like that really cool animation. That psychedelic, kaleidoscopic, mad mind when you're off it, it'd have to have that kind of graphics. But to play, I did that. We used to live with this, or we used to rent off this crazy German guy in Ibiza called Uwe, who used to have guns in his safe, like magnums, real guns. And I thought Brad Pitt would be good to play him. He made all his teeth because he used to have black teeth. This geezer, he was like big like a badger. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And I'd have him in it. That's definitely for sure. But it'd have to be class. You couldn't have anyone who wasn't thinking. I'm not saying I'm class, but I'm saying if it was going to be done, I know how I'd do it. But I wouldn't know who would play me.
Okay, but what would the film be called? So you got like any idea what you want to call it? I know you call your book Gould Blimey, but would you call it the same? Maybe the film as well?
No, because I've been listening to the streets today, and I think you probably. Listen. I've got loads of good ideas in my head, and to try and like ping them out as you As you're talking, you could call it Darlings on Charlie, something like that from the streets. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that.
That's literally what it was. That was our life for all them years, just like Bugle. We basically lived on powder.
Yeah, I love that. And the next question was, obviously, we just touched on it, was like me and everybody else. Obviously, Saturday was unbelievable. It was a great send off, and I'm still hoping they're going to change their mind in some way, but I guess they're not. But what people
can I interrupt you on that? Right, what's happening is it's being redeveloped.
Right.
And in 5 years' time, if it fits or whatever, apparently like 80% of Printworks will be demolished, but they're keeping the main room, allegedly. But this is what I can't understand, is it's all being redeveloped and the main room will still be there, not the rest of it. And they'll have a nightclub in the middle of a housing development.
No
I
way.
Can't see it.
Can you imagine moving there, going like, "So I don't mind, it's a nightclub in there." As soon as that noise started going up, people will be going completely mad. But what people wanted to know, you just sort of touched on it, by the way. Like me, obviously, I know everyone loved Printworks, but what they want to know is how many people are actually involved in organising an event like that.
Well, when you work with Printworks has got total staff, including backroom staff, is probably over 200.
Yeah.
So, but we do all the promotions, we do all the designs, we do all that kind of stuff. My guys, I've got Paul Hutchinson, who does my door and some of my socials. I've got a guy called Justin Pywell, who does my internet stuff and some designs. And I've got a guy called Nathan Healy. He does some more posting for me, because only up to about 3 or 4 months ago, I've done everything. I've done all the posting and everything else like that. But I still do all the designs and the ideas and the orchestrating. And then I've got a guy called Adrian Lee, who's been with me for years. Here's a little story about Adrian Lee when I first started off. So it was like, the old days was flyers, and then it became like online stuff. And then we'd done our first party or second party. And then someone started sending me these designs on Facebook, and I was like, what is this? And I started calling it magic, because that's what I call it. When he does stuff, I mean, it's literally, you get it, you put it up once, and you can use it once, maybe twice. It's like throwaway stuff, but it's that good. I call it magic. So he started sending me this stuff, and I was like, oh, this is brilliant, and I'm using it. And then he turned around to me one day and he went, I can't do it for free anymore, mate. If you want me to do it. What he basically done, it was like a drug dealer in the 90s. He'd give you a little bit. Yeah. And then he'd walk off and he'd come back and go, you're all right. And then you go, yeah, you got any more? And I go, yeah. And he'd go, yeah, now you got to pay 50 quid for it. And I'll be like, and that's what I did. And he's been with me for the last 11 years.
Wow. I guess when you've got a team like that around you, obviously you've got to be people that you trust and know how you work and know what to do when, I don't know, maybe when things maybe not going as well as it should be. But I do want to ask you about your relationship with Andy. This is one of the questions we had was, what are the secrets to you and Andy's friendship over 30 years and obviously working together? How have you kept that success and kept that relationship going? Because look, I've got friends for 30 years, but you fall out, right? You might argue or whatever. But what's been the success for you guys?
Basically, not killing it.
Be close.
Yeah. Well, it's tolerance, really. I've got a high threshold for tolerance. Put it that way. There's stories that can't be told. Okay. But what I learned in the 90s, what basically was the 90s, we never really used to argue in the 90s anyway. He did what he did, and I've done what I've done, and it's always worked. But when I come back when we relaunched it, I was sober and I changed a lot. So everything, the reason, like integrating into the story, the reason why Clockwork is what it is became basic because I got sober. Yeah. And took everything from my sobriety and introduced it into Clockwork. That's how it became what it was. Yeah. And then Andy, we just work together. He does what he does. I do what I do. He comes up with an idea. I'm doing the things every day, and then it meets in the middle. So that's the way it works.
Because you are like a kind of like unofficial married couple, right? And when it's sort of these sort of things, we spend so much time together, like you say, traveling or whatever and stuff. So it's got to work. So that's why I was quite interested, because 30 years it's a long, long time to people fall out in bands and artists.
No, we did it. We did it for 9-10 years, and then I stopped. I came out of Clockwork for 11 years. Right. And then we relaunched. We didn't relaunch it. We didn't think we were going to relaunch it. We just did a party for a laugh. And then in between that, he went off and done his thing, and I got sober. Yeah. So he was still partying, and then and the reason why it actually did relaunch is because we all started going camping again and having a laugh. Yeah. And then I had thousands and thousands of photographs throughout the years with like throwaway cameras, professional photos, friends' photo albums, and I uploaded them onto Facebook, and he started getting a bit of a recognition. And from that, I uploaded all the old videos on YouTube. That was a pain. Oh my God, having the VHS.
Take ages.
So when I had some of this is the truth. When I had some of the old VHS cassettes converted, and the man put them on DVD for me, then the DVD had to be converted to MP4, then MP4 onto YouTube. And then when I sent them off to this old man who used to live with his mum in this like crazy old house, he used to ring me up, and he'd done it twice. He went, Danny, he went, hi, it's John, for example. And all right, John, how you doing? He went, I've converted your videos. And I went, yeah. And he went, just to let you know, there was something a bit dirty in this one. So it was something from an old camcorder from like the 90s. I was like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And I threw it away. And then the second time I did it, he rang me up again. He went, Danny, there was one of these videos in there again. He went, this time I put a little blue sticker on it just so that you know what one it is.
Well, mate, seeing some of those videos as well back that you had, I know you did a lot of recordings with, I think I've Uncovered. You can obviously imagination then kicks in, right, mate? I remember you had this house film or whatever it was. I can imagine some of the guest stories you can and can't say on here that used to.
No, you could tell all about them. Basically, I mean, it was just a free-for-all. It was just madness. The first year we lived in an apartment, we got thrown out when John Digweed was staying with us.
Yeah.
He come back from the beach with us, and all our luggage was out on the street. I was like, what's going on? The man went, I can't have you living in there anymore. And I was like, okay. Then we ended up with this crazy old lady called Di Roberts. She was crazy. Used to talk about her dead husband about 9 or 10 hours a day. We rented her car for £5 a day. And Andy came home one morning, really early morning, and rolled it through a concrete fence and a breeze block garage. Oh, no. So we wrote that off. Right. Then we left in. 96, we lived in an apartment. We shot the fridge with air rifles. We had hamsters running around. Oh, you name it. We stole people's pot plants and had them all around on the balcony. But this is just the things you can tell, not the stuff that, you know, we had an axe in the fridge, and people used to go and get a drink and open up the fridge and go, there's an axe in the fridge. And you go, yeah, but why not? They go, but why? You go, why not? They're like, what? And then 97 and 98, that house you're talking about, Casabella, I think it was, outside San Antonio, and that was a mad house. It didn't have no locks. It got burgled. We got raided. It was just parties every night. Every night. Someone might be asleep, then you wake up and there's a party going on, or you'd party for 2 or 3 days. You'd wake up in the morning and then someone else would start. It's it was a crazy place.
Joe, I'm going to come on to some of those stories actually a bit later as we go through this, because I know there's a lot that around that time was where a lot of things started to massively happen. So we'll come on to that bit in a second. A few more questions actually I got from the listeners. One was bit of a random one, by the way. If you were on a desert island, had to choose between a cigar or a pancake, what would you choose?
Sorry. Pancake. Can't eat a cigar, can you?
No, exactly. So, that's another question. And then you recently bought a Winnebago?
That's it.
Right, is that right? Okay. Obviously, people see you've got that. I can tell behind you right now. He's obviously working on it. What's your plans with this?
This is like me starting off in club promoting in 1993 again, trying to find my way. Right. The fan belt snapped. You can't just buy one. You've got to go to a specialist. They don't know if they've sent me the right one. The plumbing went wrong. The electricity went wrong. The floor was all wrong. I had to rip that out. The walls out. The plumbing, the electricity. It's a nightmare, but I love it. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. The plan is, if you look out the window at the moment, it's grey. Yeah. It's cold. It's damp. It's supposed to be spring. We're almost in April. A lot of my friends live in Spain. It's 27, 28 degrees. They're loving life. They're happy. They're tanned. And they're not sitting here like most English people going, but when the summer happens, it's the most beautiful place in the world. I'm sick of that. Yeah. I'm sick of it. So even in the winter, I'll drive it to the south of France, or I'll take it to Spain, and I'll take it around England and just basically enjoy life to the max. Because I nearly killed myself them 10 years of working, and I want to enjoy myself a bit more. All the cupboards are being rebuilt, all the floors, it's got to be serviced.
So,
It's
so
got to
where
have.
did you get it from? Who did you buy it from? Have they sort of like given you a Duffy one here, or you just wanted to make it better than it is?
No. It's like that little golf car I was telling you about this outside. When I bought that, I bought it for 390 quid, and it was an absolute mess. It's like Trigger's broom. It's had new wheels, new spray paint, new roof, new heaters. The only thing that's going to go soon, apparently, the floor's going to fall out because it's so rusty. But even that won't bother me. I'll just get someone to do something to it because I love it.
Yeah,
it's like this. It's like it's just constant hard work. I could have stayed in it, but that's not my mind. It's like the parties. You either try and do the best parties you can do to a certain point with the budget that you've got, or even more, we spend over the budget that we've got.
Yeah.
What's the point of having just some Winnebago that's got no love put into it? I want to make this like people walk in and go, wow, that is beautiful.
Last question that someone asked is: if you were in a fight, and I'm not saying you do like fighting, but if you had to have 3 people to help you in your industry now, who would you choose and why?
I'd have Peasy, Tall Paul, because he used to do a thing in the old days called Screamer. And if you messed about with him, you put your arm up and he'd put your arm down and then he'd put his elbow right near your cheek. So you knew you weren't messing with him. And probably his brother, Danny Newman.
Okay.
So they're, them 3, if I had them with me, I could run the other way.
Yeah, good. Okay. Well, listen, there were the kind of crazy questions we got from the listeners. Please. Look, we're going to go and talk about how it all started. Where did it all come from? And what I'd like to do is go back and talk a bit about the childhood. So I understand you were from Essex or around that area, sort of East London, Essex.
Chapel Heath, yeah. I used to live in a place called Chapel Heath, yeah.
So what was that? What was it like growing up there?
My mum had no money. My dad had left. My mum was an alcoholic. I grew up wild on the streets. Basically, my mum would be drunk in the morning. So I used to put my hand underneath her mattress, because she used to put it under her mattress, get the key out, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, run out the door in the summer. And then I can remember her coming around the streets with people like crying, trying to find me, thinking I was dead at like 10 o'clock at night because I was still out. Because I basically ate apples or nicked biscuits out of people's houses if they allowed me. So that's what it was like. We had nothing really. My nan and my granddad were the normal people in my life. The street which I grew up on, this is the actual truth. I think out of all the families that were on the street, ours was not the normal one. All the other ones had 2 kids, mum and a dad, nice people. They might have had 3 kids, some of them, lovely families. And that was it. It was just a playground, an adventure. Just go out and do whatever I wanted all day long until I was a little bit older, when my mum got a bit sober when I was about 13. But we left there when I was 13, and my mum got a house in Chigwell, so we moved there.
So did you have any siblings, by the way, or was it just you?
My little brother, yeah. My little brother was born in 1986 when I was 14.
What is your sort of favourite childhood memory? Obviously, up to age 30 wasn't ideal.
Oh, it's not that it wasn't ideal.
Yeah.
This is the thing today. Like, I spoil my daughter like rotten. She gets whatever she wants. She tells me she spent money on my card before she even asked me. But we had nothing. But what that does is that shapes you. There's other stuff that shaped me in the wrong way. That shapes you to survive, to work hard, to get out of, to do things that you didn't, or to get things and to achieve what you didn't have when you was a kid. We didn't have no carpets until I was about 12.
Wow.
So, you had furniture. This is an old Winnebago that's 20 years old, and there's a photo of me somewhere, and I've got holes in my trousers, almost like a dirty face wherever I've been out or whatever, and the furniture's got holes in it, and all the stuffing's hanging out of it. That's where I come from.
Yeah,
that's where I came from.
Yeah. When you were a child, though, did you have any idea what you wanted to do growing up?
I wanted to be a spaceman, and I did in the 90s. I became a spaceman. I was an out-of-planetary spaceman. I was in my own little universe for many a year. I still am now. I love my universe. I love it.
Yeah. So that's actually what you wanted to be when you were younger?
No, of course I didn't. I just became a spaceman. I became a space cadet. Or as my old friend Gould Blimey used to say, he used to call me rock star. And I used to think he meant like rock star, but he meant on the rocks, the rock star. That's what he all right, rock star. And I was like, and in the end it clicked. I was like, all right. But my childhood memories, my greatest memories are going around places like my nan's, because my nan's was normal. My nan cooked Sunday roasts. They grew vegetables in the garden. She'd cook apple pie. They had a colour TV. My nan had biscuits in a tin in the drawer in the kitchen. And if you went in there, she had like clubs. She had chocolate clubs in the silver foil. Right. So my nan to me always seemed posh, but she didn't. She wasn't posh. It's just that we were like bottom of the pile.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they are my greatest memories, my nan and my granddad, because like they looked after me and always made sure that I had the birthday presents, the Christmas presents. My mum tried, but she was an alcoholic up until she was always an alcoholic, but she didn't get sober until I was 13. But then it was too late. So if you leave a dog on the street, not saying I was a dog, but near enough. But if you leave a dog on the street and then you try to train it when it's like middle of its life, that dog's wild. Do you know what I mean? You could probably try, but my mum used to say to me, "I've changed. Why can't you?" I was like, I was wild. Do you know what I mean? And I wanted to be even wilder. And I was even so wild to the point that in the end, I snapped with wildness until it taught me a lesson.
Yeah. And also with regards to your kids and stuff, you mentioned your daughter. How many kids have you got? Is it 2 or 3? One.
12. Yeah.
12.
One daughter, Rosie. Yeah.
Just out of interest, what's been the sort of proudest moment been so far with her?
Seeing her born, and it's all the time watching them grow up, and you never think you'd have kids and stuff like that. But when she was born, and it was a long birth, and then when she was finally born, and then you could hear them that had to be a cesarean, so you hear them pull it out, which is the craziest noise in the world. It's like ripping open a leather suitcase. It just sounds so weird, and I couldn't see. But for a few seconds, which seemed like minutes afterwards, she didn't cry. And then when she did cry, in my mind, instantaneously was any children that I hear crying will never bother me ever again, because that's basically acknowledging that they're alive.
Yeah.
So once in a blue moon, if you go, nah, they make a noise, you go, oh, shut up. Not to my daughter, not to other kids, but to my daughter.
Yeah.
But kids on a plane could cry all the time. As long as I weren't trying to like sleep and it woke me up, it would not bother me, because then parents are stressing, thinking, oh, someone else got the up. It doesn't bother me whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe, I can relate to what you just said there about that's my wife. We got a 12-year-old daughter as well, funny enough, and we had to sort of stare at them, and there was that weight, couldn't see what's going on, and that please cry. And as soon as she cried, I went. I don't really cry very often, so I was like a bloody. I couldn't stop crying for about 10 minutes. I was just so worried and relieved and everything.
Relieved.
It's so horrible feeling that please just cry. I know you're gonna be all right. So right. So I did actually have the opportunity to read through the first few parts of your book called Gould Blimey, which actually, by the way, I really like so far, and I can't wait to get further into it, because from what I read at the beginning, it sounds like it's going to get even more juicier. But for people that don't know your book, have never heard of it, can you sort of maybe explain what it's about and why you did it?
While I did it, it's quite funny you're saying that. As I'm looking forward, there's a naked man just come out of one of the fishing lodges, and he's standing outside having a cigarette. He looks a right boy. Anyway, why did I write it? Well, I had all these stories in my head. And nowadays, I go to bed every night. I've got 6 movies in my head, which I've worked all out. What happens, how people speak. That's what my brain's like. I go to bed doing them every night. When I've done the book, I wrote down loads of stuff, and I had loads of stuff in my head. And then one day I just started writing, and I wrote loads of stuff. And then I left it for years, really. And then I just thought, right, I've got to do this. And I kept writing. And then I met an editor lady called Esther in Ibiza, and she said, oh, I do all that stuff. And I sent it to her, and she went, it's in a terrible state, meaning I'd done 94 and a bit of 89 and 72 and this. And she said it needs to be chronological in a sense. And then she put it all together, and that was it. And then she said, right, you've wrote about this, but I need some more stuff. And I wrote everything. Whenever she tried to put in a couple of words to link stuff, I knew in my brain what they were. But the reason why I wrote it is because I wanted to get it all down, because they were crazy times.
Yeah.
And then obviously because I got sober. So when you were saying earlier on about it was 1998, I got the 3rd biggest caner on the island.
Yeah.
And I was upset about that. I was really upset. I was like, how dare they? I'm crazy. How dare they? That's how I used to be. And then in 1999, I actually got caner in the summer. And then I crashed the van and done all this stuff. So I was happy in 99. Right. I'd achieved that level of madness. That's how mad I used to be. But
How does, by the way, just a quick question on that, Danny, how do people actually do these sort of competitions? How did you come third? What do you have to do to become third or first? Who's the judge on this?
is it notoriety? Is that the word? What it is? It's what you do. It's when you're out, the stories and the craziness and the things that get back to people and people witness. I mean, like if you turn up to Ibiza on the first night and nearly die in a car crash, that's going to get written about. That one in the magazines.
Right.
Getting on it, fighting with imaginary characters, what me and Andy done in '98, and the word gets out, and the things you got up to at Mambo's and in your own parties, and this and that, and space on a Sunday. So it's basically the amount of drink you was drinking, how many drugs you was taking, and the amount of things that you got up to. That's how it was back in the '90s,
right?
Basically. But going back. And the reason why I wrote the book is because I got sober. Now, as a result of that, on Saturday, there was 2 people that said to me, I want to stop drinking. And I'm like, there's my number. I'll help you out as much as I can. You know, you need any advice, and I'll do that. So it's gone full circle. It's gone from that crazy kid who then went on to become an alcoholic and drug addict who nearly died, got sober, 20 years later, working and doing clockwork and making that. It's far bigger than it ever was in the 90s. And now people are getting sober.
Yeah.
Through the book and through Clockwork. So it's totally gone full circle. And there's people coming with their kids nowadays. That's another crazy thing. That's what makes me realise I'm old.
Yeah, but does it make you proud though? Like obviously when people do come up to you and ask for your advice and like just want you to sort of, I guess you can't support them through the whole journey, but does that sort of make it worth it though with the book and stuff and do what you do, see what you've gone through, that people will come to you, especially and go like, Danny, can you help me? I'm struggling. Like, what did you do? How did you do it? Like, what's the kind of like the first thing I should do now? Do you find that kind of like I don't know, like a kind of a proud moment, or just something that you feel that it's great just to help people? I don't know how you answer that question, but
it's not pride. You give it away. You give away. There's many sayings in AA. You give away which was freely given to you. So people give their advice. Sometimes it's wrong. 90% or 99% of the time it's right. You never listen to someone who's telling you what to do.
Yeah.
My mum used to say, if you are not word advised, what's the word? If it's suggested to you what to do, then you take that on board and you listen to that advice. But I got sober. I basically, AA become my going out, and I absolutely adored it. Once Clockwork had finished, I finished in 2001. I only had 2 more years of me. In 2003, I was in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I loved it. To be honest, I absolutely loved it.
Just on that, actually, by the way. So obviously, when you write in your book, because obviously, I think I watched one of your other podcasts. I did a bit of research, and I think you sort of joked about this, where you say your memory is great going really far back, but actually remembering stuff today, like sometimes it's not the most easiest. But did you ever write stuff down, Danny, or literally was it just all in there? And you went literally just started getting a pen and off you went. How did you remember all that stuff? Yeah, really. Wow.
Yeah, no, it was all in my head. Like '94, I can remember it. I could go back into anything most of the times now. All the parties that we did, and some of them I don't remember. But when we started, when I met Andy in '92, then '93 when we started, and then '94 when we went to Ibiza and our first birthday party, and '95 Ibiza when Jeremy Ely on the first party, the 5th of July. We used to do the 5th of July until the 23rd of August in '94 and '95.
Right
now. The season goes from April or May until October, nearly November.
It's mad, isn't
so
it now?
we was literally doing like 8 weeks, and that was it. 5th of July, Jeremy Ely's walked in the door with Boy George and John Please Women and Lisa Loud. I'm 23 years old. I've got Boy George and Jeremy Ely at my party. I've died and gone to heaven. I was like, do you know what I mean? Boy George, someone that you was like, oh my God. And he's there. He's there at our party. So I remember it all, but there's a lot of stuff that I don't remember like now, because now my brain's more on the go. Like I've got gardening thing, I've got clockwork, I've got clock stock, I've got Ibiza, I had print works going on. I've got this lady called Alice. I had problems with that all the time. And then with loads of other stuff that you're going on with designs and flyers and websites and meetings. So your head's more consumed now than it was then. And then it was getting on it, falling asleep, getting on it. That was it. Didn't even used to pay people. Can you pay me? Like, yeah. Then you go on a 3-day bender, and then they're all trying to climb over the gates in Ibiza trying to get their money, and you can't even talk. You're sitting there going,
yeah.
That was it. It was a simpler life.
But with regards to all of that sort of side of stuff, I know that you mentioned that you sort of like, I think you were around 17 years old was kind of where you really think kind of like the club bit sort of started then. Go back and speak to Danny, 17 years old. Would you have told him to do anything different, or what would you have said to him now?
You do it exactly the same as what you've done it. You only learn by your mistakes. You only get stronger through pain and through all the mistakes again that you made. All the money that I spent, all the silliness. I wouldn't tell him to do anything different, really, because in the end, it makes you what you are today. So what's the point of not going through all the madness and the badness and the stupidity, which along the time had a lot of laughs, but also had a lot of like dark days and crazy days.
Yeah.
I never got depressed. I had a mental breakdown in after the summer of 2001, because it just literally 1998. I'm the biggest promoter on the island. Like queues around the corner, no pre-sale tickets. It was incredible. 2000, the name got trademarked in Ibiza. We were losing fortunes. I'm working 6 months on a project and it's losing money. And I'm out in Ibiza trying to get crowds to come to Clockwork. And when it was something was so amazing and then it's gone so bad, it just broke me. I literally came up and started working for a friend, knocking plaster up for £50 a day with a stick in a bucket.
But you mentioned something about psychosis, paranoia, really badly. How did that affect having those thoughts that you were seeing people or things were going on? Like, that must have been a horrible time. How long did that go on for?
Even looking back, to me, that wasn't horrible. That was who I was. It's like now looking back on it, if it was me now, it'd be a different thing. But when you're so full up with drugs, when you're drinking every single day from, well, if you think about it, if you're going on a 3-day bender, you're drinking for like 24, 48, 72 hours, and you're drinking, you've got no sleep. And that's the thing that does you up the most. You've taken all this stuff, but then you've got no sleep.
Yeah.
And then when you're on your own, you're in your own head.
Yeah.
So as it affects you, God, yeah, it was I was just mad, basically. I was just mad. And that was it. It was in a crazy place. But I was an addict. I couldn't not have cocaine. I couldn't not drink. As soon as I smelt alcohol, I wanted to get on it again. And you couldn't subsidize cocaine with ecstasy. Because if you had ecstasy, you just want some cocaine as well.
Yeah.
And we smoked weed every day. So it was just everything. And in the end, your brain can't take it anymore.
No, exactly. And I think you mentioned there was a time when you were doing stuff with Ibiza Uncovered. When did that start, and how did that impact you, I guess, as a promoter and putting you more on the TV and stuff? And how did that happen? Like, why did they come to you? Because you're like the biggest promoter, or? Like,
no, it was 1995. We'd only been going like 2 years, and we were trying to get Jeremy. And while we were trying to get Jeremy, Andy was speaking to Jeremy's agent, Frank Cutler, who was friends with like Kate Moss and all people like that, and they had this agency. And we used to go in there like these two wide boys, and they were all like posh, and they used to be like, "What are these geese all about?" And Andy was speaking to her on the phone one day, and she said, "Oh, look, there's this program that's going out to Ibiza this year. They're going to film Jeremy. Would you be interested?" And like in them days, you grasped absolutely everything. Sorry, just fell off. You grasped absolutely everything you could to do with promotion. Yeah. So they said, yeah. They come out to Ibiza, they rang him up, and they said, right, we'll see you Wednesday morning. Tuesday night, Andy went out partying with one of our friends, knocked on my door in the bedroom about 7 a.m. He went, "I've just got in." He went, "I can't do that interview or come out with these people today." And I went, "Yeah, no problem." I said, "I'll do it." And I did it. And then they just stayed with me, and that was it. But for the story, 94, 95, 96, and the beginning of 97, probably the maximum amount of people we had in S Paradise was 1,500, probably. And the capacity was 1,900. Right. So we probably had 1,500. Ibiza Uncovered got shown in August, and I think in 97 we finished in September sometime. The last week we done it, Ibiza Uncovered had just come out or been out 2 weeks, and the last one we done in 97 went from the maximum of 1,500. We got 2,500 people, 2,400. Wow. And the security man come up to me and he went, "Oh, you've just broke the record." I was like, "Oh, that's amazing." And me and Andy had wanted to do it since 94. But in 1998, every single week for 10 weeks. We broke the record for 10 weeks. It just went on, and it went the biggest. It went from 2,400 to, in the end, it was 3,600 people in this paradise.
It's such a Hillsborough sort of problem could happen there.
No, it was mad.
It was with the bands. Wow.
The atmosphere was insane. They were everywhere. They were everywhere. They were on steps, the dance floor. When the water party was on, you'd have about 50 or 100 people with all people on their shoulders. They were upstairs here. They were everywhere. There was no smoke in there. You could smoke in there as well. It was insane. It was the atmosphere. Yeah, was just like a football match. It was incredible.
Was it open air there? Was it open at that point?
No. The roof to Es Paradis went on in 1990 because the law changed in 89.
Right.
In 1989, the Balearic government said that all in Ibiza, any venue that has an open air must have a roof by 1990. So every single club had one, except for Space, Daytime, and the Amnesia Terrace. They're the only ones that kept them.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you for that. And then also, you mentioned about there was a car crash. It was pretty bad, actually. I think in 1999. Was that quite serious enough that you could have died, or it was quite a pretty bad one though, right? The 99 car crash. Were you and Andy involved in that? Was you?
Nah. If you imagine where I'm sitting now, and because it was right-hand drive, yeah, that's right. The left-hand side of the van was collapsed. So if anybody was in that, they would have died, which was lucky.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody would have been with me, they would have probably told me I was driving on the wrong side of the road. But I drove in blackout for 10 miles through country and high mountain, but not mountains, but very high roads, thin roads. Had a car crash about 2 a.m. All I can remember is this loud crunching in my head. That's all I can remember. Like, it must have been so loud, and I'm driving in blackout, and the crunch. I fractured my jaw. I broke my teeth. The dashboards was in my legs. My hands, because I was basically in blackout, so I was relaxed, and my hands went into the windscreen and smashed all my hands. The seatbelt across here, because it was an old Etheridge Transit, was black. There was a black line across there, and so I had to have all my legs stitched up, and then my lip was split open as well, as a result of like banging, and I bent the steering wheel with my chest. How mad's that? The steering wheel bent as a result, because I must have just gone like that. And the other man nearly died, Spanish man, but I had to go. I went to hospital. Then I had to go and see a judge in the morning. And then when I come out of there, my friend had something lined up for me, let's just say, on the glove, on the thingy bit here.
Yeah.
And a cold beer. And we went straight to the opening of Space. And within an hour, I'd basically forgotten I had all these injuries and was jumping around on the dance floor.
Bloody hell. Oh, mate, like that. So how long I know you said you forgot about it after an hour, but how long did it take you to fully recover, though, from that, like, sort of visually? Because I guess you must have been all over the place, face-wise and stuff.
I started talking weird. So, but I couldn't understand why I was talking weird. I'd split my lip open and that sewed up. I don't even remember because we just partied. 1999, it was the last great summer for me of Ibiza. If you're going to make a movie about something and then you say that was the pinnacle of Clockwork. And I just cracked on all summer and just recovered, really. But, the stitches came out on the first day because I went to Bora Bora and had a fight with a midget painted in gold.
Sorry,
and I woke up in the morning. Well, you can't say midget anymore, can you? It's the dwarf. That's how times have changed. And my friend was laughing at me, and I said, "Why have I got sand in all my stitches? And why are they all pulled out?" He said, "Because you was mean to the dwarf, and the dwarf jumped on your head off the speaker and started punching you in the face on the floor." Even though I started to speak weird, so I'd be talking to someone and I'd be going, I couldn't understand why. And what had happened is, in the car crash, my teeth must have been laying on top of each other like that, and they snapped. My teeth snapped, but I didn't snap them so that you could notice. When I went to see the dentist, he went, "You snapped cleanly off the top and the bottom of your biggest teeth, about 1 millimetre. They just snapped, like, if you used to do a Kit Kat."
Yeah.
And so I was like, I couldn't understand why they was all different. And I was like, I looked in the mirror and I went, "Oh my God, my teeth had snapped in a car crash."
Sorry, I couldn't stop laughing about the dwarf. Sorry.
Yeah.
But you've been through, then you start having a fight with a dwarf. I'd say that did make me laugh.
At the end of it.
So obviously moving on now. So I think you mentioned I think back in 2001 now, you're sort of back more in the UK now. And I think another big moment was in 2001 where you got banned. I think you were going to the Cross doing some events, and then you're going there after for different times for different things. But I think they were starting to get a bit frustrated with you with when you were there and when you weren't there. Oh, sorry, when you were doing your events there, but when you were just going randomly, I think they banned you for life or something.
Yeah, on my event once, because I used to hear, I like now, not now, I don't, but then I could hear things and like voices and shit. And then when I was on it, they used to have an office out the back, and I went out there and knocked on the door, and I could hear voices. I was like, hello. So I thought someone had some, and I wanted some.
Yeah.
Hello. I could hear these voices, and they're probably in my head. And so I decided to kick a hole in the door and crawled through. So even kicking a hole in the door, even if you think someone's in there, what are they going to think about that? Because to me, it was normal. Yeah. I need to get cocaine. Yeah. So I kicked a hole in the door, I crawled through, and when I got into the office, there was no one in there. And that's where they had all their takings and stuff. And I went out, I was on a dance floor, I was walking around going, who's got any gear, who's got any gear? And then about 3 minutes later, two security come up to me and tapped me on the shoulder. I went, yeah. And he went, Jamie wants to see you. I went, what's the matter? Like my head, what's the matter? And he went, Jamie wants to see you. I went, all right. So I took him out the back and he went, why did you kick a fucking hole in my door? And I went, wasn't me. And he went, why did you kick a hole in my office door? I went, wasn't me. He went, I've just been watching you on the CCTV fucking footage. I went, wasn't me. So they're all the kind of things I used to do and whatever. And then one night I played up too badly, and then I came home and I woke up and Andy rang me up and he went, you've done it this time. And what's that? He went, Billy, the owner's just said to me, he said, I don't want him down there ever again. He said, I used to get banned, or me and Andy used to get a ban not to go to the Cross, but we was only allowed to go to the Cross on our own parties.
Right, okay.
So we used to turn up there on a Friday night for Glitterati, on a Friday night at the Cross. We used to have about 200 people, 250. It wasn't like mega packed, but we'd been out in Romford or somewhere, and then somewhere else, and we'd end up at the Cross at like 1 a.m. And the security said, you're not allowed in, not allowed in. I'll try to climb over the fence, or when Billy come out, I go, Billy, for fuck's sake, please, mate. And in the end, he just go, oh, for fuck's sake, let him in. Yeah. And the next let us in.
Right, wow. Wow. So was before we get to 2003, was what was Andy's like your relationship then? Were you like kind of like partners in crime? Were you just bad as each other? Was he more the kind of like you kind of got the calm one and out of the two? What was he like? I know it's more about you today, but I'm just sort of interested to see what influence he might have had on you, sort of during your sort of friendship.
I corrupted him.
Okay, so
it was normal. We had a girlfriend. He had a bank job. He used to work for NatWest. And we started doing parties and this, that, the other, and then and then I eventually, well, I didn't intentionally, but then like he got corrupted, and then he ended up as mad as me, and then that was it. We partied, but then we partied,
right.
And we done the parties, and he was a DJ. I didn't learn how to DJ until '94 when he had decks and vinyl upstairs, and I said, oh, let me have a go. So whenever we was round there, and everyone was sitting downstairs, I say, can I have a go on your decks? And he just go, yeah, no worries. And I used to have a little mix, and that's how I learned, man, Andy's.
Right. And then 2003 was obviously a massive moment when obviously your life had to change, right? Because it sounds like you were not long to go before obviously something really bad could happen. So August 2003, you've stopped completely. How did you just go, you know what, I'm done? Because obviously that's not easy for anybody, right? Just had to do that. But why was it August 2003, the moment you had to stop? And how did it happen?
I didn't stop. I never thought about stopping drinking. I never thought about stopping taking drugs. But July and August, maybe not in July, but in August, what it did is it turned on me very quick. Alcohol turned on me very quick. In August, we went to Ibiza. And like from... alcohol was always the thing that if I had a few beers, it would just or it'd make me even more crazy, but in a happy way, where I loved alcohol. I never enjoyed cocaine, to be honest. It never made me happy. It never gave me confidence. Cocaine had me sitting in the cupboard for 10 hours on my own with a big bag, paranoid, looking through the keyhole. That's what it did for me.
Right.
It never gave me no confidence wherever. It stripped me of all my confidence. But I went to Ibiza and I was drinking red wine. I remember I drank about 2 bottles within the space of about half an hour. The geezer was like, "Really? Another one?" I went, "Yeah," like big glasses. And it was doing nothing. And then I had a couple of beers and it wasn't doing nothing. There was alcohol in my system, but I wasn't getting any positive feelings out of it. And then I'd done some mad things then, come back. I vowed that I wasn't drinking anymore at the V Festival 2003. All my friends were there. They're all enjoying themselves. And within a few minutes, or about an hour, I pressed the fuck it button. And I took this, I took that, I drank this, I took that, I smoked that. And the only way that I've described to so many people after all these days is like the madness that I'd been in for many years. The madness, my head was a watermelon. It felt like it was going to split open, rip open my brain. That's how much pain I was in mentally.
Wow.
And I woke up next morning. I remember like that. I was telling someone the other day. I was telling that guy, the one about the who wants to stop drinking. And I said I just was like that. I was asleep, and I opened my eyes and I went, "Oh," and I knew I could feel it. I went, "It's over. That's it. The addiction, the madness, drinking every day, sniffing gear every day. It had just gone."
Wow.
I never gave up on drinking. Drinking gave up on me. It took it away. Like, you want to talk about this or mystical powers? If it took it away, then I believe in it. And it's the same as with when I go back to the car crash story. I never used to drive with a seatbelt.
Right.
Never, ever, ever in the 90s, because if I had a nice shirt on, and if I'd like that, I didn't want it across me, creasing me. And that night when I had that car crash, I had a seatbelt on. But I didn't, when I left San Antonio, I didn't have a seatbelt on because I never used to wear them. I'd go like that and I'd just look away from it. And that night I had a seatbelt on. But I woke up and that was it. The addiction was gone. But it's when the addiction's got that, my addiction was taken away. It was wherever it went. But then I had to sort this out because this was what was a problem, you know. And for 8 years, I went to Alcoholics Anonymous.
Wow, and you know what? That's amazing. But obviously, people have different, I guess, challenges to try and get over alcohol and drugs and stuff. But since that moment, though, have you ever been tempted? Has anything like come like, "Oh God, I could do that today"? What's been over that like sort of period of time, that 20 years? Has there been some difficult moments? I imagine you're around it all the time, right? DJs.
Nowadays it doesn't bother me. But when I was a year in recovery, and I went to Ascot. And as soon as I'm standing there with this ham and cheese sandwich at 9 o'clock in the morning and a cappuccino, and this stretched limo pulled up, and as soon as the door opened, I could smell weed. Everyone's off their head on gear. They're all passing pills around. They're all drinking champagne, and I'm sitting there with this cheese and ham sandwich and this coffee, and I'm going, this might not be a good idea. And I'm watching them during the day. And my thing was to drink and then go wild. Do you know what I mean? Not just like wild, just like, what is that? Like a tornado coming through somewhere. And I remember watching these people, I'm like, they were annoying me because they weren't going mad. So I'm thinking in my head, I almost pressed the fuck it button and went, "I'll show you fucking mental."
Right.
And I had to walk away. And I walked away at Ascot and I went where they were parading all the horses. And I had a word with myself and I came back. I did the rest of the day. And after that, I was like, that was a silly move. I actually went to an AA meeting after that. The stretched Hummer, dropped them off at a party in St. Catherine's Dock, and then I got him to drop me off. Everyone was standing outside having a cigarette, and I got dropped outside this meeting in this big stretched a limousine. Everyone was like, "Who the fuck's this geezer think he is?" And I'm like, I'm coming for a meeting. And I went into the meeting, and I shared what happened that day, and it just took all the power of it away. And that was it.
That's amazing. That is amazing, by the way. Honestly, I'd probably people get tell you this all the time, but to do what you've done and be around what you're doing is absolutely amazing. So, brilliant, mate. Well done to you, mate, by the way. Obviously, you've had a bit of a gap now from Ibiza, and obviously, social media now started to kick in. And from what I've read as well, like, you're seeing some nice feedback about how people used to love Clockwork Orange. For 2012 is when you kind of reignited it. The flames started again. That you guys got back.
It was the 10th of March. It was the 10th of March 2012. It was my 40th birthday.
Right.
the actual date of my 40th birthday. And we did it just to see how we could get on. Because Andy used to say to me through the years, fancy doing a party. And that's how when we first met, he said, you fancy doing a party? And I went, nah. And he went, why? I went, I don't fancy it. And then he said, come on. And then, all right, and we did it. And then you get the flavour for it. You love it. You want to do this. You want to improve that. Then I used to design the flyers and design the decor and blah, blah, blah. And then like this time, and then when I put all the stuff up from Facebook, and then I could see it. I could see all these people. I was like, And this guy, bless him, I can't remember what his name is. Jake. Oh, no. I should remember his name. I looked on Facebook one day and he had a Clockwork Orange group. And I was like, he had about 500 members or 400 members. And I should remember his name, really. I think it's Jason Turnstile. And he passed away. And he started this group, and then he had me as an admin. And then we started sharing stuff. And then I used to watch it. And all of a sudden I was like, started feeling it. And Andy rang me up one day and said, do you feel it yet? And I went, do you know what? I said, I've actually got the buzz back. And he went, should we do a party? And I went, yeah. And that was it. We didn't, grand scheme, grand plans. It was all new, basically just doing stuff all the new way, all the social media way and stuff like that. And then we just did one party and was like, wow. But we waited a year. That was silly. We waited a year until we did the next one to find the right venue. And a year was too long. So, but that was it. I just fell in love with it again.
So why do you think people like Clockwork Orange? And obviously you had a bit of a gap and obviously you had lots of events. But back then, why do people still love Clockwork Orange and still wanted you to come back and Andy to do what you did? Why do you think people liked it so much?
Well, it's part of their youth. For all the people that we met, when we first went to Ibiza in '94, that's what changed it. See, we was competing with God knows how many London promoters. We was all going for the same venues. We had different names. We all thought we had unique crowds, but some people went to this party, went to that party. We went to Ibiza in '94, and that's what took us, because we had people coming from Nottingham, Birmingham, Southampton, Wales, Scotland. So we went we went national. So we met a lot of people over the years. We put into our parties as much as we could. Too much money sometimes. We converted Camden Palace into a massive cake. We spent thousands on upside down castles and things like that. And when I finished, I said to my brother was getting into promoting. I said, what's the flyers like? He went, no one does flyers anymore. I went, huh? He went, it's all online. I went, what's the decor like? He went, no one does decor anymore. I went, oh, right. I went, what about the screens and the lasers and all that? He went, no one does that anymore. I went, what about performers and dancers? He went, no one does that anymore. I went, what? I said, well, what is it? He went, it's just a party and a thing. And I went, So when we started, we brought back what we used to do, but then we've gone a whole realm above, like if we, in the 90s, someone first started off with, everyone used to have 1 or 2 DJs.
Yeah.
Then this guy called Bernie started doing 4 DJs. So we put 6 on. So then Bernie put 6 on and we put 8 on. So that's how Clockworks always had massive lineups, big production, whether it's screens, lasers, dancers, performers. We had like 75 performers for Clockstock last year. You don't need that many. We don't need them for Ibiza. But if you're going to create something, you make it as special as you can. And that's what it is. But the majority of it is because we all grew up together in the 1990s.
Do you think it's because you're not just a promoter that just wants to put an event on and then sort of make the money side of stuff? I feel like you're quite I feel like you sort of know everybody. Like these are all like all your mates kind of thing. That's how I see it. But how do you sort of feel with the people that go? Do you feel like they're quite honest with you, or they just feel like they'll know you because they've seen your sort of journey up and down and stuff? Why do you think, again, going back to that sort of thing, why is Clockwork just so packed and rammed and you struggle to get a ticket because it's so popular?
I do all the stuff myself, so I'll do VIP myself. People who want tickets, who I know, I'll get their tickets. If they've got a problem, I'll answer it. If they want this, if they want an email, I'll answer them. It's all about personal service. If you have, like, some companies have got like these big conglomerates or corporations, or they work for someone, there's someone at the top, but there's all people underneath.
Yeah.
And then to make it easier, they make it automated. So you'll get a question, and I can't stand that.
No, it winds me up.
We've answered your call. Or you look at how many companies now still got like, due to the COVID outbreak, we can't answer your call because we're short of staff. It's like 3 years ago.
I know, exactly.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
So like, I'll reply to everyone's email, messages on Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, business pages, like this pages. I'll reply to every single one. That is taxing and hard. And then when people come, it's my obligation to make their day, night, weekend, Ibiza, festival, the best it is. If you go and sit in a room and don't talk to no one or hide away and expect them to enjoy it, if you can increase someone's enjoyment of the day, that's my responsibility.
Mate, that was exactly what I was going to say, by the way. And people that are listening to this, I've done probably Danny's head a little bit, but I keep messaging him and getting things confused. But I think that's the thing that people like about the event, you and Andy, and the way you walk around, the way you're chatting to people. I think that's the sort of thing that people love. And that's why I think people are bought into Clockwork Orange. And I think, especially on the last weekend, I don't know what your phone's been like on all the messages, but to sell out in 59 minutes just tells you how great Clockwork Orange is. But I can imagine that 59 minutes has been great. But I know lots of people that were like, "Oh, I want to get a ticket," and you've probably seen all the messages. I'm interested, by the way, while we're talking about that. How have you coped with that when you've sold out and you've got all this demand and people want like you to build another print box on top? You could probably sold it twice over.
You just can't do nothing about it.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to go that quick. And my dog had something wrong with her paw, so I was focused on my dog and taking her to the vets. He actually sold out in about 20 minutes. It took us half an hour to get a flyer designed, and the man rang me up, the guy who works for there, for Caboodle, called Joe, and he said, "You all right?" And I'm looking at my dog, just about to take her to the vets because I adore my dog. I've got a cockapoo, and I'm like looking at her, I'm thinking, I just want her to be well.
Yeah.
And we got on sale, and I went, "Yeah, why?" And he went, "You're going to sell out in a minute." And I went, "Really?" And he went, "Yeah." I went, why are you messing about? Why are you trying to wind me up? And he went, "No." He said, we're about 17, 18 minutes in. He said, "There's 2,500 people have already paid." He said, "There's another 2,500 people online trying to buy 2,500. So that could have been like 20,000. And he went, and he literally sent me a message about 2-3 minutes later. He went, "You're done."
Wow.
And I was like, so then I'm thinking, shit, because then you're thinking all your friends, the people, this, that, the other. But Printworks, that's because it's so big. We had less people for the birthday because we sold less tickets. This one was different, and you wouldn't have even known the difference in how many people was in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just worked. It just works. People, I'd like to do a ticket for everybody, but you just couldn't. You just couldn't, unfortunately. Yeah. But what a venue. It is.
Oh, mate. Oh, my God. I'm just hoping that somehow they change their mind. And because even like the next day, my friend went to the NBA All-Stars. That was Sunday. On a Sunday, but normal, it's not even Easter holiday. It's a normal week. Sold out again. So the demand for that place, obviously, I guess, do you think that them closing this year helped, obviously, it being everyone wanted to be in that Clockwork, give it a good send-off. But honestly, I reckon you could have sold about 20,000 tickets. Amount of people. That would have been amazing.
You never know, though.
You
never know. I didn't know I was going to sell out quick.
Yeah.
So the amount of tickets we put online, you think it's going to gradually creep, because last year it took us 6 weeks to sell out, but that sold out in 20 to 30 minutes, whatever. So you're just sitting there thinking, okay, how many have I sold on the first day? How hard have I got to work to get it to where I've got to get it? But it was done.
Is that the quickest ever, Danny? Any event you've ever done?
Yeah, I think it's the quickest one ever. Yeah.
Right, brilliant. Wow. Okay. Clockstock's now kind of going in mad place. Obviously, you got Ibiza coming up. You got obviously Clockstock as well. Any other sort of things that you want to share?
The 30-piece orchestra in Ibiza, like a Clockwork classical, along the lines of like Petong. They're all in rehearsals now on the Sunday in Ibiza. It's it's a new venue. No one's ever done an event in there. It's got a big live element. But also that's with like Roger Sanchez, Mark Knight, we've got K-Class live, you've got the 30-piece orchestra. They're coming on outside 9:30 at night until 10 past 11, and then like someone like Mark Knight or think he'll go on afterwards. We're trying to get Beverly Knight to sing with Mark Knight.
Wow.
Because I think she's insane.
She's brilliant. Brilliant.
We've got Angie Brown to sing during the day, and then that's not even finished. We've got loads of stuff to go on. We're actually doing a free outside of Clockwork, we're doing a free classical concert for the residents of Ibiza in Ibiza town with the mayor of Ibiza this year. We're doing classic like a classical Clockwork kind of like at Cafe Del Mar when we do the Wednesday in Ibiza. So it will be like they're in rehearsals now to play Cafe Del Mar as the sun sets at Cafe Del Mar at the beginning of Clockwork. So there'll be about 6 or 8 of them on a big thingy playing it. So that'll be really special. We're going back to Camden. We haven't been to Camden for 4 years, 4 or 5 years. So that's going to be special in September.
Brilliant. Love that. Coco's. I've not been to Coco's yet. I've been to obviously Camden back in the day.
No one calls it Coco, mate. It's Camden.
I know. Why do they call it Coco's? Anyway, but who would you say has been your major like competitor, and what's your relationship like with competitors in Ibiza and in the UK?
Right. Okay. So in London, it was always like it was them against us. And all them guys who had parties then, we're all friends with them now because this thing, give time, and everyone who you disliked because you was all in competition, we're all friends with them. Right. Like most of them DJ with us, and we're friends with them. And Paul Gardner used to run Just Can't Get Enough, and they'd be at the paddocks and same as us, and similar lineups and whatever. And if they had a flyer on the car, you'd like put yours on the top,
right.
You know, that because it was flyer wars back then. But in the 90s in Ibiza, from 1994 to 1998, 99 maybe, everybody got on. Right. I was friends with Manumission. I lived with the boys. We were good pals, Griff and Charlie in the PID. Tuesday was Money Pennies. They were all good boys. They were all a good laugh. We'd sit and eat food, and everybody used to meet at Mambo's.
Yeah.
And it was basically a meeting point of it's like the streets, Darlings on Charlie, club promoters, DJs, famous people who come out on holiday. But we all got on. Wednesdays, our competition was Renaissance, respect for him. I even spoke to Jeff Oakes about 3 months ago, just out of the ordinary. I saw his thing and I sent him a number and he went, "What do you want to chat about?" I went, "I just wanted to say hello." And he went, "Oh." And we just had a chat for about 20 minutes and that was it. But in the 90s, that was my competition.
Right.
But I smashed my records then. Thursday was Cream. They're the only ones I didn't hang around with. That's the only party I never went to because after Clockwork on a Wednesday, we were just partying. And Fridays was Ministry of Sound at Pasha. And we'd just be up in the funky room. Saturday, you were still going from Friday because you didn't have to work.
Yeah.
And then Sunday was where everybody came together on the terrace of space. It didn't matter who you was or whatever or what party you was running. Everyone come together with Brandon and Alex on a Sunday. Space on a Sunday was started by Darren Hughes from Cream.
Right.
I think he left Cream in whenever and he started that in 98.
Right.
And Brandon and Alex done Space from, forgive me, I don't know. Alex P actually built the bar in the outside. You know that?
I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that.
The Space used to be inside, and then Alex P went to the owner, Pepe, and said, can I do a party? And he said, yeah, and he let him build a bar outside. So Alex was doing outside 90, 91, whatever. Wow. And it's when you hear Peasy tell the stories like when they started it, blah, 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 blah. And then he started the bar outside. He used to do Sundays. They started doing their own events. But then in 1997, it was their last year. And in 1998 became Darren Hughes, and it was run by Danny Whittle and Mariella, some girl called Mariella, I think.
Wow.
And that's when they started bringing like Eric Murillo, David Morales, and then it went from Peasy and Blocko with like 600 to 700 people, possibly on a Sunday, to like 3,000.
Yeah. Who comes up with your ideas?
Andy comes up with some things, but I come up with the designs and the ideas and what we want and the only way that we could do the Sunday in that brand new venue called the Recinto Ferial is to do something different because the mayor wouldn't grant us a license because you've got clubs everywhere, you've got bars everywhere, you've got beach bars everywhere. Everyone's doing house music, so it had to be different. So the mayor of Ibiza was in London at a travel exhibition, and I wanted to pitch the idea to him. So we went through someone else who spoke to the mayor, who spoke to his assistant, and he said, if you want to meet me, you'll have to come to the exhibition. I went to the exhibition and he said, tell me, what do you want to do? And I went, I want a 30-piece orchestra playing Clockworks music as a concert. And he went, I like that.
Oh, wow,
and I went, right. And he said, it must be live singers, blah, 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 people from the island, which basically is Clockstock. It's Clockstock part 2. Part 1's on the Friday, part 2's on the Sunday. So
wow,
it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. But if you're going to do something, so someone we knew someone who was the composer. He works with the Royal Philharmonic, London Symphonic Orchestra. We met him for a coffee. He said, yeah, great, I'm in. The mayor gave us the thumbs up. We got the license, I think, last week.
Oh,
and as a result of doing our concert, I said, why can't we also do, while they're there, to do a concert for the locals on a Saturday night in July, 28 degrees, 10 o'clock at night in the middle of Ibiza town, and do something cultured as well. And he went, and I love that as well. No, it's the mayor's one thing this year, and I mean, it's changed from the 90s. The 90s is a different thing. Like, they're gone, but they were amazing. But now it's you got to be good. I mean, I am that person. I am that boring person that when I was younger, I'd look at and go, they can't be around me. They're too normal.
Yeah.
Or they're too boring. I ain't normal here.
Yeah.
But like, when you be having a party and then someone to turn up and they're straight and you're like, what are they doing here?
Yeah.
You feel awkward. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I am with the 90s now. Now it's a totally different thing. I'm a different person. I am now, Clockwork is now, only because of what the mistakes I made in the 90s, how I changed and learned from my mistakes.
No, exactly, mate. And what a career you've had so far. I just want to just finish off on those few things, actually. So, what do you actually wish you knew before you started your career? Even in DJing or promoting, was there anything that you wish that you knew before you started? No.
No.
No. You've been involved. Sorry, go on.
You start from the bottom, then you work your way to the top, and then you learn everything on the way. If someone tells you half of what you got to do, you're not learning it yourself. It's not knowledge.
Sure.
So with Clockwork, where are we going to get the flyers printed? Where are we going to put them out? Like, we go ministry, we go here, we go there. We put the flyer. We walk the streets at 6 o'clock in the morning. We stand outside the clubs. We'll advertise in the magazines. We'll try and get free listings, editorial, TV programs. So you learn along the way, and then you made the party as good as you can. When Clockwork finished, the same as this thing. Oh my God, the amount of stuff that's gone wrong on this it's been so frustrating. But I'm learning. That's the great thing about it. I'm learning. Yeah. And when I left Clockwork in 2001, by 2002, I was working for my friend as a labourer on a building site, cleaning plaster off of door frames, having to wear a hat and the gloves and the glasses and the footwear. And that was in 2002. By 2004, I was running them projects that I was cleaning the shit off the floor because I learned all the way through.
You come across as somebody that is an amazing entrepreneur, by the way. I know you've obviously learned.
No, I work too hard. That's my trouble. Not in any entrepreneurship. Yeah, I work too hard.
Right.
But not as much return. There's people who work a lot less harder and get greater return.
Right.
Yes, I did have 4 jobs, but that's just a workaholic. Yeah. That's not an entrepreneur. No. You have to be careful. Someone said to me in lockdown, you still got the 4 jobs? I went, no. They went, always used to worry about you. I went, why? And they went, well, you went from an alcoholic to a workaholic. And I went, oh my God, you are so right.
Yeah.
So right. You can work until you're dead. It doesn't mean you're an entrepreneur. Yeah. People with an entrepreneur, for me, who design an app that they sell for 50 million quid, that's an entrepreneur.
Did you have any any mentors or anyone that you looked up to?
My nan, because my nan was normal.
Yeah.
DJ wise, there's two DJs. One in 1989 when we first started going out, we used to listen to this DJ called Tony Wilson on a Friday Echoes, and basically his music was Balearic and change stuff. He'd play In Excess, he'd play a remix of the Rolling Stones, he'd play this, he'd play that. He used to play Belgium New Beat. That's where I first took a love dove. This light had come on. He used to play an intro track, and I used to think he was God. Yeah. The other one was Jeremy Healy at Clockwork in 1998. Remembering of that, 3,600 people in the palm of his hand.
Yeah,
They were literally all on him, and he just he played a 5-hour set once. He just took them on a journey. It was incredible. My ears now are really getting affected by the loud music. And Saturday, my mixing was not as good as what it ever is. And I listened to it back, and I was like, it's just that's for me. That I'm being honest, because I don't care.
Yeah,
it's slightly out. The tunes are great. If you're in a big arena like Printworks and you're doing it, it should be spot on. But human error, I had the headphones right up. I couldn't hear nothing. And then you can hear it. It's just that tiny millisecond out, you know?
Yeah. But is that because you're hard on yourself, or that generally you were?
No, it is out. It has. You've got to be hard on yourself. You listen to them back, and you listen to them back because you want it to be spot on. And then it's the only way you learn is by listening to it and listen to it again. I'll listen to my mix on the way home. I shouldn't have come out there. I should have come out earlier. I should have done this. So it's all I tell you what stuck with me last year in Ibiza. And this guy, and we're talking on the first boat on the first day of Clockwork, and he said something, and I said, I'm a perfectionist. He said, you will never achieve perfection. Quite profound. He said, but you can aim for excellence or achieve excellence. And I went, wow.
Yeah.
And that's the same. You can do a perfect mix.
Yeah.
I've done perfect mixes before. It's like on the Printworks mix, I'm smoking this, which I'm not allowed to in a venue anyway. And I go like this, I go, see Bongo's about to do something, the track's lifting up, I grab the mic and I go to say, ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Bongo Ben, and I go, yep, it comes out all wrong. When you hear it on the mix, it's like I'm talking backwards. So I went, I'm a Bongo Ben. I'm like, what have I just said? What did I just say? But you're in the zone, you're concentrating on 1,000 things, but your voice is not caught up with your brain.
Yeah. Yeah,
made me laugh.
By the way, mate, all the sets. By the way, all the sets were amazing. But just lastly, who was your favourite of the night?
I never went downstairs once. I'm pretty annoyed with myself, really. I thought I'd done everything that day, but it went like that.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
We gave Dave the extra one because he was going to go on a journey, and he did, and he played what they wanted, and he's wicked. Who else? I always loved Seb. Seb's someone I looked up to. I've always loved what Seb plays and that different kind of stuff and his sets from like years ago. Andy's always smashed it. I know when I've smashed it. On Saturday, I wanted to go on a different tip. I wanted to go on a vocal tip. So I weren't looking for no glory on Saturday.
Right.
I could have taken that. To a whole new different realm and given it like loads of energy. But I just wanted to play it cool and, I wasn't going to go for no glory. I can't say Paul always smashes it, but the set I do want to listen to, I want to listen to Owen Clark's because he played like an old school set with like some Belgian new beat, up tempo, and I think that was special. And my little brother as well.
What are you looking forward to in the future, personally or professionally?
Every time we do Ibiza, where when I was younger, it was my license to go crazy. The first night I'd get there. And I'd go to the owner of the club and I'd say, can I have 2,000, whatever it was in pesetas, 5,000 pesetas, $2,500. Why is that? I need to pay some bills. Basically, cocaine and ecstasy, right? That's all I wanted. He used to give me the money. I used to start loading it up. What I'm looking forward to when we do Clockwork, which I missed in the lockdown, because I'm sober, I stay in the north. I stay miles away. It's an hour from San An. It's 40 minutes from Ibiza town. I love the drive. I love the scenic countryside. I have the roof down, the music on, and it's my little bit of free time while I'm organising it. That's what I look forward to.
Yeah.
When we do Clockwork, where I stay, so I get that peace, the quiet, but also get all that stuff all around it. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the orchestra because that is something pretty special to say that you've done or you've achieved. And then going back to Coco as well.
You're right.
It won't be in Ibiza.
No, it won't be. What do you actually do for fun?
Music.
Do you make music as well?
No. Finding stuff. See, the Saturday morning show I do on Centreforce is eclectic.
Yeah.
I was thinking, if I'm going to do a show, what is different to everyone else? And it's eclectic. But it's all blended together. When I first started doing it, I used to chop and change it and talk at the wrong time and talk too quick and talk too loud and everything like that. And music, finding music and finding like now there's millions of tunes, but finding the stuff that you've either not heard for a long time bit of golf, or now my new thing, which is the Winnebago.
Promised Land, one of your favourite tunes of all time. Is that right? No. Do you have a song of all time, a best song? I know it's really difficult, by the way, but is it
No.
song?
When I was a kid, it used to be Voodoo Ray. That used to be my track, my thing. But as my knowledge of music got better, I mean, there's still some other tracks that you could probably miss. But I think one of the tracks that evokes the spirit of '89, the lyric raves of '89, which I didn't get to go to because I was too young. I didn't have enough money.
Yeah.
When I hear it and the words to it and everything about it, it transports me. It's probably Emotions Electric by a guy called Gerald.
Is this true? Actually, just remind me of something that you when you find in the name of Clockwork Orange, you nearly call yourself Baby Love. Is it?
Yeah.
I just imagine trying to look at it now, and you've got all these orange colours everywhere. But how would it be if it's called Baby Love? Why did that nearly happen then?
It nearly got called Baby Love because we thought if there was loads of girls coming at the end of the night, we could get them singing and play Baby Love. That is the truth.
Right.
Well, and the only record I made, I made a record in 1999 at the beginning of the year, and I called it Gouldy Boy Recordings, and it was from a track. What was it? And I heard it when I was finding stuff on YouTube. Anyway, I made this thing. I've got this guy done this scratching on it, and it all built up. And my brother still got a copy somewhere. I went to Ibiza. I got off my head. We was living in a villa on a mountainside. You could see Formentera in the distance. Got off my head. 100 copies that I took out of me. I threw them all down the mountain like a frisbee to see how far I could get them. That's what I was like. See how far they would go. I was like, oh look, that one went to that other villa and just smashed into the roof.
So someone's got that record somewhere, maybe. I don't know. Maybe
my brother. It's probably shocking. I would love to listen to it. It was shocking.
How do you want to be remembered?
Done really good parties. Nice enough geezer. Helped me out on the secret. Done things like this. Done things like that. That's it, really. Yeah. I think as you get older, you're not too more worried about what people think. You are. The old me, not many people like me, because as they used to say, he's a nice bloke, that Danny Gould, but once he has a drink, he turns into an arsehole.
Yeah.
And that guy's gone now. That guy's gone. So I think I've achieved some pretty good things, and I've already got ideas for next year, which I'm hoping to sort out for this year.
Wow.
And if I do, it's taking it to another realm altogether, really. And it's always like creating. Like he was good at what he did, and done some good parties, and he was a nice enough fella.
Mate, I'll leave it on that note. By the way, you have done amazing parties, and I love the way you keep evolving. White's gone 30 years. I can see it being another 10, 20 years. Depending on how long you guys have got the energy to continue doing it. But
I'm 51, brother.
But I can see you've got at least another 10 years in you, I reckon. Really enjoyed this. You made me laugh through the whole way. So great story. You should be really proud of yourself, mate, and what you've achieved.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks, Danny.
Let's do that one more time, and action.
Obviously, you said that you're kind of like a full-time job, but how many people involved? So obviously, got you and that, God, my brain's gone dead. Oh my God! Sorry, mate.
No. You've got to keep this bit in because this is
my
real.
brain's got dead. Andy,
don't cut it out. Well, listen. The easy way to do it. What's the anagram of Danny?
What's that?
What's an anagram of Danny?
I don't know. Oh, fat. What do you mean? What is it?
No, the name. So my partner's name is an anagram of mine.
No, I know it's Adam. Sorry, it's Andy. Sorry, I just got my head confused. I don't know why. We've got it written down here, so I don't know that. I don't know why.
That's
my brain's
real.
got dead.
What
so
you're doing there is real. You don't cut that out.
I know it is. But let's start a question again, though. Anyway.
Let's do that one more time, and action.
Mate, I'll leave it on that note. By the way, you have done amazing parties, and I love the way you keep evolving. White's gone 30 years. I can see it being another 10, 20 years. Depending on how long you guys have got the energy to continue doing it. But
I'm 51, brother.
I know, but it doesn't matter. You've got these guys in Ibiza, 71 doing walking around with bloody Speedos on, still doing clubs and stuff. You could do it.
Is that really what I want to be doing? Walking around clubs with a person? No.
Sorry, that's a bad example. I remember watching the video about Ibiza. Someone owned a club and he was walking around these brown suntan with Speedos. Not saying that's your way forward, but I can see you've got at least another 10 years in you, I reckon. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe and follow to receive notifications of each of my new shows. Also, make sure you like, share and comment. Thank you for listening.